Well, welcome and thank you for watching. We're continuing to explore the London system, and we have been working up the ratings ladder with the chess.com bots. We've already played 2 games with Jimmy 600. We're now in our first game with Aron 700, and this is a 14-move mate. That does not happen very often in chess, but truly shows the power of the London. So without further ado, let's get to it. The London opens with d4. Aron responds with e6. Of course, the next move in the London traditionally is a bishop to f4. Aron responds by bringing his queen out all the way down to h4, thereby putting pressure on the king's weakest pawn here, and then ultimately on the king. Now, one of the things that we always need to be mindful of when there is a move like this by our opponent with their queen is our focus tends to become this square here at f2, and we tend to forget that the queen has eyes on this bishop as an easy capture if we're not mindful of that. But fortunately, within the London system, the third move traditionally is e3, and that provides the support for the bishop and the pawn that we need at this time. Aron responds by bringing his rook h5, and now we have an opportunity in which to begin an offensive move. There's both an offensive and a defensive move with what is, again, traditionally the next move in the London, which is the knight to f3, thereby putting pressure on the queen. And of course, now at this point, the queen is going to have to move to one of the squares in order to be protected. And so Aron has the opportunity for that move, and instead he hangs his queen by moving f6. And again, of course, we have this opportunity to take advantage of this, and so we must. So he hangs the queen, we'll take it with our knight. Aron responds with a knight move of his own to a6. Not exactly sure why he moved along the sideboard as opposed to moving more toward the center, but that's our opponent's choice. Now, as I've said in previous videos, when you kind of have an exchange of pieces or a flurry of activity, it's always good to refocus and reestablish where am I at my development, and also about my attacking lines, and are there any opportunities that are opening up that maybe I could quickly take advantage of. And as I looked at this some 10 months ago when I was playing this game, I saw that this move of my knight to g6 would then be able to put pressure on both the rook and the bishop, and also just be a great positional piece for further development of the rest of my minor pieces, and then ultimately my queen as well. And so I took advantage of that right now while I could, and we'll wait for Aron's response. His response is to move his knight to e7 and try and put pressure on my knight. However, in the process, he's hung the rook, and we're going to take advantage of that. So very quickly, we're 6 moves into this game. We've already captured the queen and the rook. Both were hung by our opponent, and now we have great advantage over our opponent in this game, and we're really opening up the king's side wide open for further attacks. I would have you note that having taken this rook at h8, we now have what is this open diagonal that I've covered a couple of different times in some of the other games, and one of the main opening, or I should say one of the main tactical and attacking lines of the queen to this square at h5, and then ultimately to the king. So that's going to be something that I'll be looking at in this game. But Aron makes his move to put some pressure on my bishop. Right now I'm not too concerned about that because I can put the king in check with the move of my queen to h5, which I do. Check. The king now is going to have to make some movement in order to avoid that. He does this with the pawn move to g6. Now, this is one of those points where you need to be careful not to just quickly take this with the queen, even though it seems very simple, because remember, this is guarded by the knight, and you could easily end up hanging your queen. So always, especially with the queen, always look at your moves, either a capture or just a regular move with your queen, just to make sure it's not getting trapped or it could be quickly captured. So obviously we're not going to take with the queen. However, we could take with the knight, maybe have a knight exchange, take with the queen, and again, be in a wonderful position to further our attack. But Aron decides to move his king, and once again, by doing so, he's hung his bishop. There is no protection for the bishop here. Now, we'll wait to see whether we take advantage of that or not, because we still have this. And don't forget these, these attacks against us that might be occurring, where we kind of delay them with a check or some other move. We need to come back because we do have a piece hanging right here, and we need to find some way in which maybe to rectify that. And certainly the easy procedure here is just to take with the D pawn. That's what we do. Aron responds by taking with the F pawn. We're kind of in the same position. However, by moving the F pawn here, it has opened up this diagonal in which we can put a pin on the king through this knight here. So let's take advantage of that, a wonderful opportunity. We are kind of closing in on the king. The king is pretty much trapped right now in this space. We need to find an efficient way in which to take advantage of that. So Aron responds with another pawn move here to e4. It might have been more advantageous for Aron to move the c pawn to c6 to provide some kind of escape hatch for the king, but he didn't do that. So let's see how we can take advantage of this move to e4. Now we have a lot of options right now, so let's consider them just one at a time. Certainly we could go ahead and take this, the hanging bishop. That's one move there. We have the queen that could go to the corner of h8 and pin this bishop to the king, and that's another advantage that we have. We could come down and take with the bishop, and should Aron respond by taking back, we have this move. That's a possibility. We could take with the knight, and should the bishop come forward, we can run with the queen down here, check, causing all kinds of chaos. So what I decided to do in the game that I felt was most advantageous is to go ahead and sacrifice, potentially, my bishop by taking the knight, because that will put the king in check. He has to make some decision of what to do. As opposed to if I'd taken with the knight, the king is in no danger right now, and it gives Aron an opportunity, our opponent an opportunity in which to make another move, and I wanted to keep the pressure on. So I took with the bishop. There must be some response by black because the king is in check. Aron decides to take with the his own bishop there, and of course now this leaves this queen to h8 wide open, putting the king in check. And there's really only one move that Aron has right now, and that is to move the bishop back. But once he does, you will see the bishop is hanging, and all I need to do is move in here and the game is over. Mainly because I've left this knight here that is protecting this square, so the king cannot move here. All we have to do is take the bishop, and it is checkmate. And having seen that, that's what I did. And game over, that's a 14-move mate. So you can see the power of the London system along the attacking lines that I've talked about in previous videos. And in the introductory video, the 5-minute introductory video that I put together on why I'm doing this channel, we're talking about the attacking lines of how to utilize the London, trying to get us past just the opening and then understanding how we can utilize the opening of the London in order to inflict some pain and some damage upon our opponent. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Review it, play your own games against Aron 700 or whatever on the chess.com bots is your rating level, and use these bots to learn how to play more efficiently. We're going to play another game with Aron 700, one more before we move on up to the ratings chart. And thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this.